With the amount of LS swaps and Coyote swaps that guys are doing nowadays, I want to shed some light on the small block Ford. God is everything. Without God, I'm nothing. Let's talk a bit more about, is the 302 still worth it? Or the small block Ford in general? I guess it's pretty obvious that the 351 Windsors are worth it. But I guess a question comes about that, are the 302 base engines still worth it? Let me not make myself sound like this big Ford fanatic or big Fox body fanatic, which I am a Fox body fanatic. Let me be honest about that. I do love Fox bodies. I do like most Mustangs in general. There's a lot of things that the small block Ford has going for it, and there's a lot of things that are against the 302 small block Ford. And we're gonna get into all that in just a second. But before we get into that, let me introduce you to this fine automobile that I'm sitting on. This is Foxy, my 1993 Ford Mustang that I purchased back in, I think it was 2020 or 2021 for... Anyway, guys, just had a snake come in my yard. Just a little rat snake, nothing major. It wasn't no little rat snake, it was a big rat snake, but it was just a rat snake. Nothing much to it, but back to what I was saying. I can't even remember what I was saying. But anyway, this is my $800 Fox body that I bought as a 4-cylinder. AC worked, heat worked. I mean, everything worked. Radio, speakers, everything worked. The car ran and drove. I could have put everything on it and been driving this car daily if I needed it to. So, nice, reliable 4-cylinder. Was it, you know, y'all know about them inline engines, inline 4. Didn't have any power at all, but it was a good engine. Like I said, it was definitely a good engine. So let's talk about, you know, how we got to this how we got to this plant, right? There were two plants. There was two engines that were gonna go in this car. It was either gonna be a small block Ford, either a Windsor, but I really didn't want to go Windsor base because Windsor, you know, that Windsor base is that's a lot of engine. So especially in the Fox body, it's a lot of engine in the Fox body. So I was like, okay, I don't want to go engine. I don't want to go Windsor 351 Windsor in the beginning. I want to go 302 based. Initial plan was go with a 331. Or the initial plan was to take a 302 and rebuild it, and then that 302 ended up being a flat tappet block, and I couldn't use a roller cam, blah blah blah. Then it went to, let's build a 331 out of that block, use a solid roller cam, and then I started adding up how expensive things were getting. So I was like, hold tight, let me sit back. So then okay, let me spin the block a little bit. Let me spin the block. Y'all get y'all a little something to drink and sit down with me and talk to me now. So the initial plan was to go LS. And because I already had something LS, and I didn't want my content to be so generic, I had already, honestly, Iron Man was supposed to have a 6.0. I had a 6.0 that I purchased, and I was gonna put that in Iron Man. This car was gonna have a LS, and as y'all know, my G-body, I don't know if y'all can see it on here, but my G-body already has a LS. So the whole fleet was gonna get a LS. And I was like, man, it's not boring, but I'm like, I don't want all my bills to be the same, right? So I said, how can I quickly get that Fox body running? The easiest thing by far was to find a 5.0 and a transmission and all that and throw it in the car and let it go. I found this 302 that I have in this car for 450 bucks. And I think I had to pay a core charge, so I think it might end up being about 5 something. Might have been a $50 core charge or something, I don't know. Might have been $100. I don't know what the core charge was, but either way, that was a core charge, so I spent a little bit more than that. Besides all of that, like I said, we got a 302 in here with a cam, but let's jump right into why I think the 302s are still worth it. Guys, real quick interruption. Check out my new PullsTv hat. Let me know what you think. This hat is not for sale just yet, but let me know if you guys like it and I'll release it. So in a world where everybody wants to make 1,000 horsepower, we all know that making 1,000 horsepower is by no means a simple task. But it sounds good. It sounds good. Oh, mine made 600 to the wheels, 700 to the wheels. But the more you go spend all that money to go that fast, you're almost asking for, you know, not saying it won't be reliable, but that margin for, you know, error gets smaller and smaller, which in turn means more problems. I mean, it's pretty much inevitable. I mean, your fuel system got to supply 1,000 horsepower, which is stress and strain, all that fuel pressure, all that heat and power that has to be generated to keep up with that. Your injectors have to keep up, and I mean, it's just a lot of things that go into making that type of power. But saying all that to say this is, this engine behind me only makes 200 and something horsepower. But it is so simple, especially when I went carbureted. I went carbureted on mine, and that made the job even more simple by going carbureted. Really simple engines. No, when I went carbureted, that was the only wiring I had to do was to the distributor and to the choke on the carburetor, and that's it. Things like oil pressure, stuff like that, it was already in the harness and stuff like that. I kept the original fuel pump from the 4-cylinder. Just took a regulated it down, and that's it. Plain and simple, good to go. I do still have to wire up the alternator, but as far as simplicity goes, no more than 10 things you got to get wired up, and you good to go. So this engine, unlike a lot of the engine that Ford built, was one of the engines that they produced for a lot of years. They changed up a few things here and there, but for the most part, they didn't. I don't know if they made it. I don't know what years, but I know it was about 20 plus years, if I'm correct. Yeah, it was over 20 years that they made that, and that's not normal for Ford. Ford don't normally run an engine for that long. I mean, they stopped building that engine in '95, if I'm not mistaken. There might have been some exceptions to the rule, but I think it started in like '86, maybe before that. I don't know. But Ford doesn't do that. They came out with that 4.6. They ran that for a couple of years, and they ran a 3-valve for a couple years. This new Coyote has definitely been one of their longest runs, but even that has had Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3. I think they're on Gen 4. I mean, that's just how Ford has operated, which makes their part more expensive, which makes their stuff more expensive. But when you look at these 302s, or if you want to build a stroker, you know, 331, 3 whatever, it's really not that expensive, because like I said, the parts are pretty much available. And I'm pretty sure some of you are saying, man, those engines only good for 500 horsepower. You're correct. They are mostly only good for 500 horsepower, outside of the fact that you can make a little bit more with boost. I've seen them go up to 600-700 with boost. So with that, I was like, okay, I don't plan on boosting this car, but you know, 500 horsepower in a Fox body is a lot. I mean, I don't care how you flip it, twist it, turn it. 500 horsepower in a Fox body is a lot. And a lot of you guys are saying, oh man, they making blah, blah, blah on the stock block Coyote. I get that, I understand that. I definitely do. But what I'm saying is, also, how many of you guys are actually gonna make that kind of power on a Coyote or on a LS? I know so many guys that say, oh man, LS, they can hold 1,000. They can hold 1,500. Completely understood. And I think that's a dumb reason to pick an engine if the potential is there. And the fact that you don't plan on making that much horsepower is wild to me. So I'm gonna leave that alone. But like I said, parts and things, they're there. You can go to pretty much any junkyard and find something out of a Ford Explorer, or you know, marketplace for Fox body parts. Coyote stuff, you're starting to find it, but that stuff is definitely expensive. So like I said, you can make decent power with a 302. I don't want to give this dude no compliment, but I gotta be honest, my cousin had cars with this with his Fox body. That's a pretty impressive car to ride for it to just be a 306, or it's a 30 something. It ain't quite a 306 because he got 140 over piston in there. I ain't did the calculations on it, but I'm gonna ask ChatGPT what's his cubic inches. Hold on, y'all. What is a 30 over 302 with 140 over piston? What are those cubic inches? I need an exact cubic inch for that, whatever it is, 306 point something, or would it be a 307, or what would that be? ChatGPT said that is a 306.2. Oh, about 306.324 is what he got in his car. A 306. They said we'll just call it a 306.3. I got to call him and mess with him on that. But anyway, like I said, his car makes good power. That car is fun. I want to say he won't be the Coyote, but I mean, that car is actually a pretty smooth car. That car is actually really smooth. That car, I think if he can get a good tire on that car, he can get that car hooking up I think it would be a nice hit. A manual Coyote, not an automatic. He ain't be no automatic because he shifts like somebody 99-year-old grandma who finna die tomorrow. All right, so here's the bad of these 302s. Here's one bad thing. The one bad thing is what I've already mentioned. You can't make over 500 horsepower, naturally aspirated or with nitrous. Like I said, you can make a bit more if you're boosted. I've seen guys make 6, some have tipped 700, but you know, their time was limited. Their time was, they knew they was on borrowed time. But like I said, for a Fox body, man, you really don't need all that. But like I said, one downside is you're definitely limited. You're not making 1,000 horsepower with one of these. So if you're trying to compare, let's say a 302, a LS or a Coyote, obviously the 302 would fall off pretty easily unless we were saying we're looking for, unless you just say I want to keep it old school. That would be the only situation where you would pick a 302 over a Coyote or LS. Now the Coyotes, their size kind of makes, you know, some discussion with that because they're such huge engines. I'm not sure. I think they fit in the Fox bodies, but I think you still don't really have room to work on them. I think it's still a bit of a headache. So LS would be the best, you know, the better platform to put in here. But like I said, I didn't want all my stuff to be LS. Before I give my final conclusion, I want you guys to go in the comment section right now and let me know, what do you think about somebody buying a 4-cylinder Fox body or a rolling shell and buying a 302 and putting a cam in it, you know, and just letting it roll out. Now my 302 has GT40 P heads on it. This car shouldn't be, it's gonna be a pushover. Let me not say that. It's gonna be a pushover, but it shouldn't be that big of a pushover. Like, I should be able to pop the clutch and light the tires up, and it should be a fun time. But what I'm asking is, based off of your goals for speed and, you know, this, that, and the third, because I had a guy in my section on my Facebook page, and if you haven't followed me on Facebook, go over there. I got like, it's almost 100,000 people over there. I had a guy, he was like, man, I can't get with that bill, blah, blah, blah. You know, even with the GT40 P heads, you just put them back on stock, blah, blah, blah. You're limited on the power. And I'm just thinking, like, whatever your goal is may not be my goal. My goal, I'm going to be honest, I can be honest with every single one of you right now. My goal with this car, when I put this 302 in here, was simply to get this car running so that I can make content with it. Nothing more, nothing less, which is why I always tell guys, never allow someone on the internet to dictate your build. If you wanna go buy whatever, a C10 or a F100, and you just wanna put a stock 305 in it, but you wanna take it and paint it up, put some wheels on it, blah, blah, blah. Now, obviously, I wouldn't go that big for wheels with a 305 or a 350, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, it's your build, you know. You have to do what makes you happy, which is why so many guys are going LS when they don't have to. You don't have to. Anyway, we ain't going down that road. In conclusion, I feel like the 302s are still a great platform. I feel like they aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Guys aren't just finna, you know, forget the 302s and be like, oh, we just finna Coyote. It's not gonna happen, because for one, the biggest thing against that Coyote is, other than a tune to make it sound like chop 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 chop, that's all you got. These, you have a nice raw, it's raw. Slide the camshaft in it and let it do what it do. Can't beat it with a stick. But anyway, guys, like I said, let me know down below, what are your thoughts? We're gonna be getting this thing fired up, running and driving real soon. I got a few more parts I gotta grab for that transmission. If you saw that video, I got a few more parts I gotta grab. Appreciate y'all for tuning in to another one, man. I just wanted to shed some light on everything, man, because guys be thinking newer is always better, but that's not the situation, man. PullsTv, gone.